Well, hello and welcome back to my workshop for the start of a brand new series. It's a little bit of a surprise for everyone in the office, this one. I've been working on a little project with Phil from PGM Models to create a brand new set of laser cut kits to model Derby Litchurch Lane Works in 00 gauge. Now, as it's 2025, it's the Rail 200 year, and there's the greatest gathering taking place at Derby's Litchurch Lane Works on August the 1st and 3rd this year. It'll be no surprise to where the idea came from. However, like I say, I've been working on this a little bit in secret. I've been working on buildings, I've got baseboards built, I've got a plan for a layout, I've got all the drawings done, we've got Phil's created all the track plan for it with all hard standing, all laser cut as well. We've got a fantastic project coming together here with this layout build. And what I'm going to do today is start off on the actual process of creating the main building for this brand new layout. And we're also, during this series, we're going to take you on a little tour around the Derby work site as well, give you a little insight into the history of it and what it has to offer. So the way in which I'm going to build this layout is actually going to be a little bit different to what we normally do. So normally I'd build the baseboards, I'd lay the track, I'd then start thinking about building the structures, how they're all going to fit in around it. I always don't have a plan beforehand to actually know where they're going, but the actual process was very much, you build the baseboard, you build the track, you wire it all up, then you start doing ballast, then you start doing scenery. But this is quite different. So this I'm starting with the building first, because the building is the element that makes this layout stand out from the crowd. Like I say, it is a brand new laser cut kit that we're developing. What I've got here in front of me is the first few parts of the first test cuts for the model as well. So lots of exciting things to show you. Now, one of the things I'm really excited about with this depot is actually it is going to be a modular kit. So what I'm building for the layout is, well, it's quite large really. It's ½ a metre wide. It's almost a metre long as well, the actual structure. And it's going to give me a 8-track wide 4-peak works building, which is going to fill about 3/4 of a 4-foot by 2-foot baseboard. It's going to have all the roof structure inside. It's going to have external and internal brick walling on it as well, so have full detail inside and out. Like I say, it is fully modular as well. So the way these modular kits are going to work is you're going to be able to buy them as a couple of different types to start with. So there'll be a basic 2-track design, which will give you all the walls outside and inside and all the ends to create a 2-track wide, 2-peak long work structure. And then we'll also do add-on kits then where you can expand that as many times as you want, left to right and front to back at the same time. So you can make this 5 tracks wide, 8 tracks wide, 12 tracks wide. If you've got the space, you can do a 20-track wide works building, just like the ones at Derby Works. It's really quite clever the way it's actually all being put together. And part of that, which I'm actually starting on right now, is how all the roof goes together. So your standard 2-track kit is going to come with 2 of these panels, 1 for each end, and you've got these extra little bars that go in the top, then they slot together to make a 2-track entrance. So if we built those up, we fit them to the roof trusses, we then put them over the top of the entrance to the depot, and you'd have a 2-track wide roof. However, you want a wider roof, no problem. So now we've got expansion kits, which will come with the expansion sections in them to widen it 2 tracks at a time. And you simply put those in between. So we move some of these parts out of the way. We'd simply put them in between like that, hook them into place, and then all of a sudden, I've now got a 4-track wide depot roof. And we can keep building that as many times wide as you want. Like I say, you can do it multiple times in length as well. There's lots of little nuances obviously inside the kit, all that will be detailed in the instructions. But what I'm actually going to do right now is, and I'm not actually going to use those, the wrong parts, we're going to actually start building up some of these roof sections so they're ready to go. So all of the roof section is all made from 2mm MDF. All laser cut, all precision fits together, brilliant stuff to work with this. And what you've got long sections for the 2-track wide sections, which just simply clip into place like that. And then you've got short sections to do the outers, which complete those there. Now, being MDF, some of these are a nice tight fit as well, which means actually a lot of this actually clips together very nicely with very little glue as well. And you can see how quickly I'm working through this as well. You know, we're not slouching around here building all this roof up. So that's 1 row of parts in. Do the same down the other side. slot all the parts together. And now I've got an assembled 8-track wide roof panel. So what I'm going to do to make sure all that stays together and stays bonded, I'm just going to put a few drops of super glue in underneath each one of these sections, just to make sure they stay in place. Just going to work on a section at a time, putting dots of super glue in, like this. Then I've got my spare stick here. I just use that just to push that in as well. Make sure we don't just have big blobs of super glue. We actually get it to run in underneath each of these bars as well. I can see some of these are tighter fits than others. That's just typical of working with wood, but it is a nice easy medium to build with actually this. And considering how tiny some of the details are in this kit as well, actually it's pretty strong, and actually the more of it you put together, the stronger it gets as well, very much like the real thing. All the roof panels are now all assembled here, which means we're ready for the next stage, which is actually where we start putting in all the roof trusses. Now there are different types for different buildings. Now these are for the XD original kit, so the base kit, which gives you one support in the middle, and then you'll have end walls at each end using these end sections. So they fit into the ends at each end, like so, and you start building up a structure with all the detail around it. Now, to build this and assemble it all, I'm going to start by fitting these to the roof. Now, I've got to think about carefully which way around these go, because each end of this particular type of truss is a different shape. So at one end, it's got like a little upwards curl, which is where it slots on to hook onto another extension to extend it that way. And at that end, it's got the square-ended peg there, which will go into an end wall, like so. So we're going to build from this end outwards. So this will be the inside section of it. What we're going to do is but carefully line each one of these up and slot it into the holes in the roof panels. There you go, nice neat fit. So I'm going to check that that fits. Then I'm going to take it back out and put a row of glue onto it as well. Now the idea is that in each one of these bays you've got one with a post, and then next to that you have one without a post. And we'll work our way across the depot in that same vein then. So one without, one with, one without, one with, and so forth and so forth. So like I said, I can see both of those are fitting quite nicely in there. So we're going to go ahead straight away and glue those in place. It is also, I'd say, well worth on a kit of this kind of type of structure, just doing a dry run before you do commit to gluing the parts together. I've done that before with the roof panels when you saw me assembling them very quickly a few minutes ago. That had all been test fitted first to make sure it was all going to fit together as it should do, and it did. So then I was happy to race through that, get the glue on and assemble it all. So as you can see, these roof trusses are going quite nicely. Just need to hold each one in for a few seconds to make sure the glue actually takes to the panel underneath. Then we can move on to the next one. So as you can see, I've got that first section of roofings all now built up there. But it obviously looks quite fragile at this point, and obviously it is because it's very fine laser cut wood we're dealing with here. What we need to do now is start moving on to the next section. Now this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. So particularly with a big structure like this, it's actually a case of being able to line up each of the layers and glue them all together all at the same time. So not an easy process. Now I've tried a couple of different methods for this. One was to try and do it that way, which is not the easiest. I've tried that before, and it's not an easy way of doing it. The other option I've found is if you can turn the structure round, that actually we should now be able to fit it in the other way and lay it down like that. So that's slightly more difficult for you to see now, but essentially what I've done is I've turned the whole thing round so that all the structure hangs off towards me over the edge of the workbench, whilst I glue all the other parts into place along the actual roof now. Now, word of warning, having done some of this work before actually starting to build this piece, it is quite easy to damage these, so be very careful when you're working around those. And now we're just going to carefully start easing each one of these pieces into place. Now, starting from one end is probably the best plan, and we're going to have to get some glue in there as well. And it is very much a case of working along section by section to fit all this into place, and then holding each piece in place as you go until it's bonded to the roof panel above. Now, having said that, this is going to take me some time, so I'll be back in a bit.
So you're building a model railway. Here at TMC The Model Centre, we cater for all your modelling needs, whether that's Pico Track, Woodland Scenics accessories, even DCC Concepts layout control. And as you'll see behind me, we have a very small selection of one of many different brands we stock, such as Oxford Diecast, Hornby, Bachmann, even Acura Scale. Take a look at our website to see the full range of our products. And don't forget, every Friday we upload our new pre-owned listings if you'd like to save a little bit more on your layout build. Perhaps you're stuck with an aspect of railway modelling, or any other aspect of modelling for that fact. Our customer service team is just an email or a phone call away. For everything else, you can visit our website at themodelcentre.com, and if you're passing in the area near Beckhole, Whitby, pop in and see our showroom.
So as you can see, I've been quite busy getting this roof built. It's now starting to look the part. It at least resembles the roof of a building. There's still plenty of work to go into it, so I've still got all the stretchers to put in between, which I'll build up later. Then all of this has got to be painted, and I've got the overlays to go on it as well. So lots of detail work to go into this, which I'll catch you with a bit later on in the build of this building. What I'm doing next, if we just pop that to one side, is assembling the walls. So the walls come in an inner, which has got the little holes in it, which is where the structure goes in across the top of the building, and I've also got the outer wall as well, which obviously is the outside of the building. Now they're quite easy to distinguish. The outer wall has got all the teeth for the bricks down one side, and the inner wall has not. Nice and simple. Now the difficult part of these is getting them to line up perfectly, because there aren't any tabs or slots to line these with. But the method I've adopted, having done a couple of these now, is to temporarily align them to make sure I'm happy with the fit of the parts. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a run of super glue across the top corner of each of these buildings, and very quickly bring it in, line it up, being very careful to line it up as accurately as I possibly can, and then put it in place for about 20 seconds whilst the initial glue goes off. Once I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'll work my way around this, feeding glue around the rest of the wall to actually get that all set into place, and then we will be ready to actually go away and prime these and paint them and get them ready for actually assembly to the building. So I'm going to be busy again getting all these assembled. Now I've already got 3 out of the 4 they're already done, which is quite nice, moving forward nice and swiftly. And there is another step which I'll show you in just a minute once I've got all this secured together. But if you just watch along now, I'll show you what I'm going to do to actually bond these 2 parts together. So I'm sticking with the super glue, and I'm starting by running a bead down there, a couple of drops dropped in the middle there. Being quite liberal with the super glue. And then now I'm just going to make sure that lines up at the bottom and press it in place and hold it for a few seconds whilst all that glue sets as well. Now it's a case of working around this stage by stage. If you try and do the whole thing at once, your super glue is going to go off too quickly. If you don't want to work with super glue, then your other option is to use PVA. Now the thing with PVA is you're going to have to, I would still recommend using the super glue to the top corner just to pin the top in the right place. But then you could add PVA around the rest of the area and then go and put a load of weight on this to hold it, for example, overnight. I haven't got the luxury of overnight to get this done. I need these assembled, painted and ready to go into the building by the end of tonight, not by tomorrow. So let's keep going with this. So there you go, I've held all that down in place, that's all stuck now. So we're going to continue feeding the glue in. Just dropping it inside the building, like that. And then again, just making sure, as I put the pressure on this to hold it all into place, that actually is all going in straight and aligning properly as well. I did have a problem with one of the ones I did, where actually it didn't align quite correctly, but it was soon enough after I applied the super glue that I could actually peel it apart again. I did have to then force it into the right shape, but it did go in the end into the right shape, which is quite nice to see. So. All right, so it's just a case of holding this down for the time being. And then I've just got one more corner to do, and then we're ready to go to the next stage with this particular panel. There we go, that's the advantage of super glue. It's a really quick bond. And now I just need to run some into this top joint here. There's just this open joint here. So I'm going to run a bit of super glue into there. Again, be quite liberal about what I do here. And then, again, just putting plenty of weight on it, hold it all in place, make sure it all goes to the right shape, which is very important for this building. Now, one of the things we're looking at with this kit, and this is like I said earlier on in this build, this is the first test cut we're done. We're looking at actually, in one of these test cuts, we're looking at the materials, how can we improve the finish, how can we improve how they go together from a customer point of view once they arrive with you as well. And one of those things is sometimes about how we actually, well I say we, how Phil actually cuts the materials to make the kit as well. So one of the things we did notice is with this thinner 1.5mm plywood, which we're using for the main walls, that it has a little bit of a tendency to warp in it when it's been engraved with the bricks. Now that's not actually a problem, because as you can see it will go back to shape quite readily. It's one of the nice things actually about working with these wooden kits is they are quite amenable really to actually going back into the right shape. And one of the things we occasionally find with it as well is you can see just on this face here actually, got a few marks in the surface here on the wood. Now those marks are actually in the wood. They're not going to cause any problem when we come to paint it. You won't see those marks anymore once it's all fully painted. So if you do get a kit with some of these little marks in it, don't worry, not a problem. Once you're painted, you won't even know they're there, which is great. So, right, turn this back over to the inside face now. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to use one of the braces for the top, just to line up this interior strut, just by doing that. And then what I'll do is take that back off, bead of super glue along the back, and then we're just going to drop that into the correct place here like that. Hold it down, take that out so it doesn't get stuck as well. And now we've got the internal support wall in there as well. I can repeat that here as well, because this is where the two walls actually join together. So exactly the same process, just using those pins just to guide it into place. And this time I'm just running a bead down the inside edge, not the middle of the piece, because if I go down the middle of the piece it won't have anything to stick to. And just using these pins as a way of guiding it into place and making sure it goes in accurately. Which it has. There we go. So there we go. That's one of the outer walls now complete. Now I've also got the front walls to do as well. So these come in separate sections like this. So you've got inner walls which have got all the holes in them. So you've got the holes across the top, which is where the support trestles go in across the top and line up with those like that. Makes up the roof structure of the building. And then we've got the outer panels as well, which have got no external holes in them, and they will line up on the outside of those. Now what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm not actually going to glue these together for the time being, I don't think. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get them painted first, then I'll come back and glue them all together when I'm ready. Because I think what we're probably going to end up doing is probably assembling the inner walls onto the structure of the building first, and then adding the outer walls towards the end. But the theory of these outer walls is that when you've got the right pieces together, is that actually they do line up like this to make up a wall as they go across the building, and then you'll have a nice structure to model the interior and the exterior walls. So, next steps, loads of painting to do, get all these parts together. But what I'm going to do now, actually, I'm going to suggest that actually I'm going to pack all this up here. I'm going to get everything ready, get everything painted, head over to the main workshop, show the team what I've been up to, hopefully they'll approve of it as well. And in the meantime, let's take a trip over to Derby Litchurch Lane Works to have a look at some of the real buildings we're actually modelling, a little bit of an idea of what the site was for, what happened there, and its history as well.
Introducing Key Model World, your new online destination for everything railway and scale modelling. Featuring exclusive videos and features, unseen images, step-by-step guides, railway history, and the latest news. Plus, it's home to our full layout build series.
I'm going to stop you right there though, because I didn't do this. This is all you're doing.
Join us for the latest content from Key Publishing's modelling titles, Hornby Magazine and Airfix Model World. Sign up today for as little as £3.75 per month, or if you're a magazine subscriber, bolt Key Model World onto your subscription package now. For more details, visit keymodelworld.com.
Well, welcome to Derby Litchurch Lane Works, which is obviously the focus of our new double O gauge layout build. Now this work site dates right back to the 1870s when the Midland Railway was really expanding its operation. It started out at the main Derby Locomotive Works, which we all think of as the first works in Derby, which is actually just a stone's throw away across the other side of the railway behind the RTC. Now, this site was started by Samuel Johnson in about 1876. He started building this site. It was designed primarily to construct railway carriages and rolling stock here on the Derby Litchurch Lane site. So it started off creating carriages for the railway, and then through the time it was owned and operated by the LMS, where you saw things like the LMS porthole coaches being built here. Moved on to build Mark I carriages as well, and then in later life it also built the Mark IIIs. But one of the things that Derby Litchurch Lane was also very well known for was creating diesel multiple units. Now, one of the first that were created here actually was really one of the beginning points of the multiple unit revolution, if you like, which was the Derby lightweight 2-car and single car multiple units. They were built here around 1954 and 1955, and that led on to the production of the complete class of things like the Class 108 and 107 DMUs, which were all built here too. Fast forward a few years, and this is a site where so many of the four-wheel pacer units that operated around the northwest and Yorkshire actually came out of this works as well. And then they moved on to build things like Class 158s. We saw the 325 units come out of here as well, as we moved on towards the end of the BR era ownership of the works site. Now, in more recent history, it was at the end of the BREL period, so when it was part of the British Railway Engineering Limited sector. It then moved on to be owned in the private sector by ABB and then Adtrans, before moving to become part of the Bombardier Transportation portfolio. And at that point, it then became the works that built the Turbostar units. Again, another very recognisable train that operates on the national network today. At the same time as Turbostars, they're also turning out the Electrotars fleet as well, which is the 377s, 379s, those 4-car or 3-car multiple units which are seen across the southern network, are also on the Great Northern lines as well, and on many other routes around the country. And then in more recent history, coming right up to date, it's now owned by Alstom. They took over the site in the early 2020s. And at that point, the site was just finished off a contract and starting new contracts. So the most recent trains to come out of this site are the Aventura collection of multiple units. And they're being operated by London North Western Railway. They're operated by CTC and Greater Anglia on the Great Eastern lines out of London. We've also got 701s out with South Western Railway down on the southern, and got the Elizabeth line stock, which operates on what is now, I think, one of the busiest railways through London, which is all built right here at Derby Litchurch Lane Works. And the good news is there's still more work to come here as well. So this site is very much alive and well. We've got brand new contracts to build HS2 rolling stock in partnership with Hitachi, and also the refurbishing Voyager units here too as well. So the works has got plenty of work for the future. Right, during this series, obviously we're building the model of Derby Litchurch Lane Works. Like I say, one of the principal buildings you'll see on the layout is actually aimed to model the structure right behind us here. Now, there's a little bit of modeller's license required. You know, we can't model these things perfectly in every single way, but we're going to have a go at creating this landscape behind us in terms of the building of the structures. And actually, there's another area just behind the camera right now where we've got a fantastic gantry crane and another one of the works buildings which we want to recreate too, to create this kind of fan of sidings leading into G-shop behind me here. Right, back to the studio and back to the model making. It was great to have a look around Derby's Litchurch Lane Works and get a sense of actually what we're really trying to model here. Now, obviously, this is literally just a slice of the Alston site we're trying to build here. It should be probably about 4 times wider and about 10 times longer to actually be the right dimensions to model the works in full. But as you can see now, we've been busy back here in the workshop and we've been putting down the hard standing. What we've used is 2mm MDF, which has all been cut and laser cut to shape by PGM models by Phil Morton. It's created all design work to match our track plan. We've laid all the track down. We've had to get all the parts cut first before we could lay any track with this one. So a little bit like us talking with the building, we've slightly reversed process how we're actually building this layout. So all the parts were cut, then we could use those to align the tracks. Then we've had to put the wires to the underside of the rails, which is a little bit intricate, actually getting soldered to the bottom of the rail. So it actually means then that actually underneath these panels then the wires can be fed and go through the baseboard so we can join it all together underneath. We've also had to make it all work around the points, so the main panels all fit around the points. There's been a little trimming around the edges of the points to get those all to fit. We've also put the holes through for the point motors. So it's been quite a busy process getting all this into place up to the point where you see it now. We've also added in the sleepers at the baseboard joint, the copper clad sleepers using the DCC Concepts ones with the little solder pads on them. They're all in across the baseboard joint, which means we're now ready to actually part these baseboards because, again, I'm changing location. So today, busy day, getting all this laid out. Now this baseboard that's in front of me is coming off the other baseboards. It's going back in the car because all these panels have all now got to come off again because I've got to paint them all. So they're all coming back in their individual pieces. They're all going back in the car with me. Baseboards going back in the car with me as well. Get all these painted and then we'll be able to put them back into position and actually glue them in place to actually start making this look like a proper works hard standing. At the same time, I'm still working on that building I showed you earlier. So I'm still pushing on with getting all the details and finishing done for that inside. So we can start adding all the walls to it as well and start building that structure up to come and start looking like a proper model of Derby Works. So stick with me. Follow the process. I'll show you what we're doing. I'll keep you going with the story.
Look great, don't they? It's Howard Smith here from the Model Centre. I hope you're enjoying this lovely series on weathering models. But if weathering isn't your forte, and let's face it, it isn't everybody's particular cup of tea, all the different implements that you might need and the skill and the practice, well, we can do it for you at the Model Centre. If you take a look at our website, you'll see the full range of models that we stock, and believe me, it is very large. And we'll customise any particular model to your exacting standards, whether that's choosing from our variety of finishes to a custom finish that you can select on checkout. Simply send us a photograph of the exact locomotive and how you would like us to depict it, and our talented workshop staff, well, they'll deliver. If you'd like more details and information, check out themodelcentre.com.
We're back in the workshop now. The board's been away. I've done a load of preparation work on it, ready for this next stage. And one of the things you'll notice straight away that's different from when the last time you saw this board is that we've now started to get some concrete colouring down on the hard standing. So what I've done, I took all these panels away, I've painted them all with grey primer from the Pro Coat range, which is available from Toolstation. It gives a nice base grey finish to that. Then I've just misted in a dust coat of a colour called Ford Dove Grey, which just gives a little bit of texture and different finish to the actual surface across this, so we don't get one uniform standard grey finish to all the concrete hard standing around the depot here. Now these panels, they're going to be part of a new range of products we're going to make with PGM models. We're not quite ready to release those just yet, but they are designed to fit around track. So that they're designed with cutaways underneath, which means they'll fit over the top of the sleepers and over the rail chairs and give us a really nice neat finish against the track. Now this set we're actually using here, these are all custom designed to suit the Derby Works site, and they're really simple to install. I mean, literally we've laid the track around them, and then all we have to do is line them up and they fit perfectly, neatly into place. Now one of the things we did find was a little problem was actually getting the super glue to bond to the rail chairs. It wasn't always easy. So what we did instead is actually went away and broke up a load of spare bits of the 2mm MDF sprues that brought all these parts to us, and we've positioned those all round underneath. Now it looks like a little bit of a patchwork quilt under here, but in the day, as you can see on this side, you won't see any of that anyway, so it doesn't actually really matter too much about what's going off under there. Also gives plenty of space for our wiring to lean out from the tracks to go underneath the baseboard, and it gives a really neat finish to the layout once everything's on top of it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start actually gluing the rest of these parts down. Now the advantage of putting these 2mm MDF strips in place, I can now use super glue to bond each of these parts in place, which is a really simple, quick way of doing this. So I'm just going to lay the rest of these out so we know where they're going. They're all numbered as well for this specific layout because they've all been custom designed. And then what I'm going to start doing is working my way from the back here forwards. We can work our way across, and just each one I'm just double checking it does still fit before we actually start applying glue. A little bit of movement in the track from being transported back and around in the back of a car. And simply what we're going to do is add super glue onto the top of each one of these strips of 2mm MDF. And then we can pick up our panel, drop it into place, butt it up against the previous one, and press it down on all the glue. Just like that. Really simple. Now, like I say, we are working on making these into an actual set of kits as well. So these will be available to go with in all good time. There'll be a set to go with the GB Rail Freight Depot. There'll be a set to go with each type of the new Derby Works based kits. So you'll be able to make really quick and easy hard standing, just like we've got here. And the other nice thing about the way we designed it here as well is, even though we're using code 75 track here, which is quite a fine rail profile, is because we've put the extra steps and cutouts in underneath, it does mean that it sits nice and flush with the rail. So if you're to do this with 2mm MDF and you used a panel underneath and then added the 2mm MDF on top of that, 2mm MDF doesn't quite cover the chairs, so it would get stuck on top of the chairs rather than actually sitting flush. Whereas by having done this laser engraving on the back here and etching away this part of the timber here, it means it does now sit really flush with the track, which is great from an operational point of view and an aesthetics point of view as well. And like you can see here is now a really quick process. Now, one of the other things I will mention here as well is when it came to actually laying this track, we did lay it all to match these concrete sections. So I didn't lay the track first, then worry about making the concrete sections later. We laid out all the concrete sections, we fitted the track in between them, and worked our way across the board to get a really neat finish and an accurate finish on this as well. Because the worst thing would have been to have to actually cut each one of these parts to size to fit exactly what we're doing here. Now, as you can see, I'm able to rock it through this just using a standard super glue just to glue all these panels down. And actually I'm quite taken with the finish on this as well. That dust coat of the Ford Dove Grey has really made a difference on this. Right, so there we go. That's all the main panels all around this first baseboard. I've not glued these back two in just yet. I'm going to come back to them a bit later because I haven't quite decided exactly what I'm doing at the back edge here. But what I thought I'd show you next is then the infill part. So again, same basic process. We've got 2mm MDF, which is cut to size. It's had the same painting process on it, and it's really simple. You just drop it into the middle of the track like that and glue it in place, and then magically we end up with a full concrete hard standing throughout all these tracks, and very quickly as well, which is the important point. So we're looking for a bit of speed and delivery on this layout. So real simple stuff. Again, I'm going to glue all these in place now, get it all set up, and then we can hopefully bring the building up and start to see how that's going to look. And just like that, building is assembled. So This is very much a mocked up assembly stage, so by no means a finished version of the structure at all. It is literally just pushed together and pressed in where the tabs all locate. There's no glue involved yet, other than what you've seen obviously me building the roof and things. And well, it's just nice to see actually how the structure looks and how it goes together. There's lots more work to do. I've got all the cover layers to put on the roof. I've got a lot of filling to do on the roof as well. In fact, a lot of work still to do on the roof. As you'll be able to tell, there's no windows in the walls yet either. They're still to come as parts to add into this. But in the meantime, what I've actually been doing is obviously I've got all the roof work all painted in the primer colour for a starter. May look at adjusting that colour, get a slightly lighter colour finish on that. But at the moment, so that's where we are. I've fitted all the section across the front. We put all the trusses inside. I've added all the window sills in as well. Got all those on the main outer walls, and I've done a lot, and I mean a lot, of painting. But it is definitely looking the part, and it's nice to see it actually now positioned over the top of all this hard standing we've been building as well, and see it with a few Derby Works built locos actually sat inside and around it. Now, one of the things I should mention here is actually Derby Litchurch Lane Works actually wasn't where the locomotives were built. So I put locos in because I like them, but this really was a carriage works rather than a locomotive works. The locomotive works is actually on the other side of the station in Derby. But nevertheless, I think it does look the part. Maybe could be our own Greatest Gathering theme, maybe, I don't know, it's got lots of potential as this anyway. The other thing I think which is nice about this kit is, again, because it's modular, you can build it to any size you want. So if you've only got space for 2 tracks, you have 2 tracks. You've got 4 track space, you can have 4 tracks. And actually, even though it is based on Derby Litchurch Lane Works main buildings, there's no reason why you couldn't use this as a steam shed somewhere, or as a different building on your layout. So there's loads of potential for how you could actually use a kit like this to add something to your own model railway layout. For now though, that's the end of part 1. Join me next time when we'll be moving on to finish putting all this together and have an actual fully built building. We'll be going that way and working on the rest of the layout to get all the hard standing down and some more buildings as well. And we've got lots more to come. I'm looking forward to getting on with it. I'll see you in part 2.